what people don't realize here, when people say that XRP cannot go to 10 trillion, 20 trillion, 100 trillion, and they can't flip Bitcoin, well, let me tell you something, and I would like to know how you're going to argue against this one. The Bank of England is one central bank out of 170 central banks. There's 170 to 180 central banks in the world. We know that the Bank of England is a paid customer of Ripple for over 6 years now. We know Bank of England and will settle with XRP. Same for the Federal Reserve and same for the Hong Kong Monetary Authority and majority of central banks, all central banks. We know they're going to settle cross-border through XRP. The Bank of England, the Bank of England is one central bank out of 180 central banks that will be using XRP, and it does more volume in one day, the Bank of England, than Bitcoin does in a whole year.
Yep.
And this is one central bank. There's 170 to 180 central banks in the world. Not all big like the Bank of England. The Bank of England does more volume in one day than Bitcoin does in a whole year. And it's going to use XRP to settle transactions. And their CBDC is being built on the CBDC, the private CBDC platform that Ripple has that allows central banks to build CBDCs on the XRP ledger. These are private CBDC ledgers that they're using to build CBDCs. And when it comes to settling cross-border, they have to use the XRP public ledger. They have to touch a public ledger. And the Bank of England does more volume in one day than Bitcoin does in a whole year. And this is one central bank. So don't tell me that XRP can't go to $50. If you're saying it can't, okay, you don't know the facts. You haven't done your research. And it's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person. But when it comes to XRP, if you think XRP can't hit $10 or $50, you have not done your research.
This is why I brought him on. This is exactly why I brought him on.
Well, facts are facts, right? It's just that I can't, again, I'm not writing in stone that's going to happen tomorrow. I'm not writing in stone that's going to happen. But to say that it can't is absolutely ridiculous.
Good morning, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite crypto news related channel. And we just got some breaking news out of Eleanor Terrett. Massive thank you to the live chat for sharing this. Just in, the Senate Agriculture Committee has passed a portion of the Clarity Act out of committee on a 12-11 party line with no Democrats voting in favor of the bill. That's what I want to give a shout out to, you guys. We are about to witness massive change inside the United States. And the title of today's episode is The White House is set to meet with banks and crypto companies to broker a legislation compromise. Long story short, they are doing everything they can to get the Clarity Act on President Trump's desk so we can have definitive crypto regulation here inside the United States. And that's what we're going to be breaking down all throughout today's show. I've also got a new update out of the SEC chairman, Paul Atkins, who stated 401K'S will be adding Bitcoin, XRP, and other digital assets, and now is the time to do so. But the breaking news, Ripple has received the call from the White House. They are going to be flying into Washington, D.C. this Monday, along with some Coinbase executives, to work directly with the banks on getting the Clarity Act approved. And if you guys are excited, we already got 1,500 live listeners joining this program. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. The goal for today, can we reach 700 likes during this episode? I believe we can. We have enough positive news, regardless of the momentum of the market, where I can look at this thing objectively and say, I feel like retail is once again getting it wrong. But I want to hear from our live chat, guys. The question we asked you is, do you believe the Clarity Act will be approved in 2026? Be sure to vote in the user poll, and we're going to be addressing that throughout today's episode. Now, I did want to start off with some other news that was shared in the chat, and you guys really are the best community in all of crypto. Shout out to you for the awesome news here. China is dumping treasury bills and buying gold. China's holdings of T-bills just reached an 18-year low, while gold reserves just hit a brand new all-time high. And this goes back to the video that I showed you yesterday, where Ray Dalio said there is a global economic restructuring taking place, and it's being centered around gold and silver. But this morning, we saw a massive market crash. Gold was down about 8%, wiped out $3 trillion from its market cap. Silver erased about 12%. That's about $800 billion from the silver market cap alone. The S&P is currently falling. The NASDAQ is currently falling. All markets across the board are falling due to the Federal Reserve's uncertainty. And I'm going to be breaking that down later on in the episode. But I did want to make sure I hit the breaking news that everybody is showing up for. Exclusive update here. The White House is set to meet with banks and crypto companies to broker brand new crypto legislation. So we're going to start breaking that down right here, right now. I also just wanted to let you guys know about another thing I found very interesting. We're going to be playing a video of Brad Garlinghouse later on in the episode. And this is one that I think our listeners are going to enjoy. This is more of a fun, lighthearted video from Brad. And he's talking about what motivates him, what the company Ripple does. So I'm excited to dive into that as we get into the end of the episode. But the breaking news we just received out of Eleanor Terrett, the first step of the Clarity Act has just been passed. This is a major step forward towards getting crypto regulation approved. And that's what the White House is going to be brokering here on Monday. So the White House on Monday will meet with executives from the banking and cryptocurrency industries to discuss a path forward for the landmark crypto legislation, which has been stalled due to a clash between these two powerful sectors, meaning the banks are battling with the crypto exchanges in order to get control of stablecoin yield. And the reason for that, as we're going to find out later in this article, if you scroll to the bottom, Standard Chartered just released a brand new report. Around $500 billion in deposits could be taken out of U.S. banks by the end of 2028 if stablecoins are allowed to generate a yield and pay that directly to investors. So everybody out there who's like, why do the banks care about stablecoins? Why is this preventing digital asset regulation? Well, there's an obvious answer. It's a $500 billion check that is going to be written between now and 2028. And in 2025 alone, JP Morgan made $25 billion off the money that people had in their savings accounts. They were able to put that in the market, earn and generate a yield, and then give investors a fraction of what they earned on their own money. I gave 100 to JPM. JP Morgan takes that $100, goes and earns $10. They kick me back $1 and they keep $9 for themselves. That's what's happening at scale in the banking industry. It's totally legal. It's totally allowed. It's called fractional reserve lending, and it's always been a part of the game since 1971. Well, that is why the banks are so concerned about what's happening here, because that fractional reserve lending, there is a serious threat to the business model if stablecoins are allowed to generate a yield and pay that directly to investors. So the summit, which is taking place this Monday, will be hosted by the White House Crypto Council and will include executives from several trade groups. Now, I'm assuming they're not going to tell us in this article. We're going to see huge names in this list. Goldman Sachs, Fidelity, JP Morgan, all the big executives that control banking are probably going to show up to share their thoughts on this major issue. It will focus on how the bill treats interest and other rewards that crypto firms can dish out to consumer holdings of dollar-pegged stablecoins or of dollar-pegged tokens known as US dollar stablecoins. Make sense of the latest ESG trends affecting companies and governments. That's an ad I just read. I apologize. The White House meeting could help the industries, which have been fighting head-to-head over the bill, reach a compromise, and underscores how keen President Trump's administration is on getting this legislation across the finish line. Our listeners saw the President Trump video out of Davos last week as well, where he said he will be signing this crypto legislation if it hits his desk. So now the White House is doing everything they can to make sure that this bill is on President Trump's desk as soon as possible. Trump courted crypto cash on the campaign trail, promising to promote the adoption of crypto assets, meaning he took a whole lot of money from a bunch of crypto companies. And we actually got an update on that yesterday that I should probably give you guys as we go through this article. Ripple sponsors a pro-crypto super PAC fair shake to take on anti-crypto politicians. Why does this matter? Ripple donated $25 million to Fairshake, as well as Coinbase giving $25 million and A16Z adding an additional $24 million. So there's huge money behind the crypto industry. This isn't some niche market anymore where Elizabeth Warren can shut us down. This is a different ballgame where people like Brad Garlinghouse are going to have a voice in the room when it comes to defining where this currency and where this asset class is going to go during the Trump administration. But he continued here. The White House did not immediately respond for comment, but the CEO of the Blockchain Association, which represents crypto giants like Coinbase, Ripple, and Kraken, said in a statement that the group is proud to participate in next week's meeting. We look forward to continuing to work with policymakers across the aisle so that Congress can advance the last standing market structure legislation and ensure the United States remains the crypto capital of the world. And here's a representative out of the Blockchain Association, out of the Digital Chamber of Commerce. This is Cody Carbone talking about the crypto vote that just happened this morning. Here it is.
Well, here in the Northeast, we are still digging out from that winter storm we got over the weekend. So hence some of the gatherings taking place in the nation's capital have been delayed. But what are your expectations for this gathering taking place tomorrow?
It's a fundamental change of where we've been. These two regulators need to work together. You just mentioned that we are in the middle of trying to get comprehensive market structure legislation passed, a foundational regulatory framework for the digital asset industry. The two most important pieces there are the SEC and the CFTC, the two market regulators. There's going to be so much rulemaking authority delegated under this bill to those two regulators, and they're going to have to work together. A lot of the rulemaking authority under this bill is having them work together in different joint exercises and task forces. So it's fantastic to see. This is not something that we saw over the last administration. The two regulators have to work together in a coordinated effort to make sure this really can be the crypto capital of the world and this regulatory framework can be implemented.
And think about this, guys. Earlier this morning, we had the CFTC chairman, Paul Atkins, come out and tell us this is a time when we could see major money, $12.5 trillion worth of retirement portfolios allocate into the digital asset space. And wouldn't it be great if we were at a relative bottom, retail is tapping out, all of these spigots of liquidity are turned on, and this market turns over, is on its head, and we get a bull run here in 2026. I want to hear from the live chat really quick before I play this article, guys. Do you believe 2026 we get a bull market, meaning Bitcoin and these altcoins like XRP break their all-time highs in 2026? One's in chat for yes, two's in chat for no. I want to hear what you guys have to say, because once again, Silver Day says, breaking news, I just hit the like button. Shout out to you, Silver Days. But once again, we're seeing retail investors leaving this market in a way that we really have never seen before. And check this out. This person commented, all right, I've had enough. I just sold the last of my Bitcoin and put it into gold. I'm going to add in parentheses at $5,000. I'm tired of pretending that digital money is a thing. Gold has been around for thousands of years and clearly isn't going away. Meanwhile, we can't catch a single bid. Have fun with your Bitcoins. I am out. Well, that's a sign to look for when you're a long-term crypto investor of like, all right, long-term investors are tapping out. We know this asset class is here to stay. Why wouldn't I place some bets on the digital assets that I think are going to be most successful here in 2026? Because clearly the market is undervalued. Clearly, people think that this market is going to be stagnant. It's going to be negative. And I just don't feel that when I think about what's occurring here from a regulatory standpoint and what that will mean for the largest companies buying digital assets as we get into this market here. Now, we did just pass over 250 likes on the episode. Massive shout out and thank you to each and every single one of you. Actually, we just passed 311 likes. Sorry, my chat was loading. If you're enjoying this content, smash that like button, share some of your thoughts in chat so we can incorporate that. This is the SEC chairman, Paul Atkins, saying, now is the time for 401Ks to invest in digital assets. That is $12.5 trillion sitting on the sidelines.
How do you think about crypto versus any other kind of investment for the average American family out there?
Well, Andrew, a lot of people are already exposed to crypto and other sorts of assets like that through their pension funds, and because they're managed by professional managers in those pension funds. So we're talking about the 401Ks now, where, we have to do things with respect to the different markets very carefully. We're focused right now on private securities, private equity funds and things like that, where, again, a lot of people are already exposed to those in their managed pension funds. And so we're looking to allow people to have access to those through their 401k, through the professional management of the what is allowed into their funds, their trustees that are looking after those funds. But right. I think the time is ripe to go forward with that.
How do you? Well, there you go, guys. It's a very opportunistic time for the crypto market for several reasons. Number one, we're looking at an undervalued market here inside the United States. And number two, with the way that regulation is moving forward in the background, it would not surprise me at all if Donald Trump is signing the Clarity Act forward over these next couple of weeks. Now, I did want to point out another great comment in chat, and shout out to this person here, Lee. They said, Justin, 0 Democrats voted in favor of advancing the crypto market structure legislation in the Senate Agriculture Committee. This is a concern that I have for digital assets at large, guys. And it's one of the reasons that I agreed with what Charles Hodgkinson had to say about the Clarity Act. When you think about what could happen after Donald Trump, and I know that we're looking a little bit further out, we've got 3 more years of Donald Trump sitting as a president. But with the midterm elections right around the corner, if the Republicans don't maintain a House majority, it is going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to pass pro-crypto legislation here inside the U.S. And that stat that they just shared, that's a great example where 0 Democrats voting in favor shows that there's 0 independent thinking on the Democratic side. There's no way that every single person here is anti-crypto, and that has nothing to do with nefarious incentives going on in the background, to put it lightly. But I want to hear from you guys. One's in chat again. If you would like to see 401Ks allocating into the crypto market, two's in chat if you think this is a bad sign for the market. We're already at a market downturn. We don't want to try to catch a falling knife here. And that is great advice that somebody put in the live chat. Shout out to them. They're like, you never want to try to catch a falling knife. That's how you get hurt, right? That's a great example. Don't think you're going to catch the market bottom. When I'm talking about buying opportunities for an undervalued crypto market, that could be over the next 2 months. That could be over the next 3 months, where digital asset prices are stagnant. They're trading sideways. Maybe we even see a dip down to 74,000 for Bitcoin. Or, like I've been highlighting here, which is my original belief, this is a liquidity cycle that's playing out before our very eyes. And we're looking at the catalysts in the Clarity Act, in the Senate Banking Committee, that are going to be the excuse for the liquidity cycle to be turned on and to see these assets break and create brand new all-time highs. I have been sharing that time and time again. The ISM, the debt cycle, that's what I believe is moving markets right now. And when you think about what's happening with gold and silver, guys, this could be a great indication of how some of these altcoin projects are going to perform once the liquidity is back on the crypto space. Sentiment is at an all-time low. We are seeing that clearly. And I want to give a shout out to our live chat. We do have over 3,000 people here, 1,200 on YouTube. You guys are the consistent outliers here. You are the people who are remaining in the crypto space, doubling down on what you understand. There are thousands of, if not millions of people who in the last 6 to 8 months, because asset prices have been going down and sideways, they've been selling into the market. And someone said perma bull abs. Now, in some way, shape, or form, I think so. But if I thought that we were going into a bear market, if I thought we were in a bear market, I would be acting very differently. I would be saying that. I would be sharing my thoughts about how to invest in these assets at lower prices. I'm not entirely sure that's what's playing out before our very eyes, guys. But I do love the chat here, and I do want to be very consistent. Now, I have a massive special birthday shout out for today. Today is my grandmother's birthday, guys. So I want to give a special shout out to my grandma. Happy birthday. I'm going to be sharing this clip with her later on this afternoon. If you guys could, you want to be awesome and helpful, shout out happy birthday to grandma in chat. She will very much appreciate it. And we're going to be going out and celebrating later tonight. But I'm a man of my word, and I always talk about I got to give those family birthday shout outs here on the Good Morning or Good Evening Crypto program here. Now, last thing I want to get into, because I got to take a sip of water before we really start diving into the details. Let's watch this video of Brad Garlinghouse. Brad Garlinghouse was at a Miami event where he's asked about what motivates him and what his company Ripple does. Here's what he had to say.
You're Brad. You're the CEO of Ripple, right?
I am. Good to meet you guys.
No way. What is Ripple?
So Ripple is a blockchain infrastructure company that uses XRP to solve real-world problems around financial services, cross-border payments. We do a whole bunch of stuff in prime broker as well.
And how much is the company worth right now?
Last financing we did, Citadel and Fortress came in at a $40 billion valuation.
$40 billion valuation for Ripple here. And I think it's so great how we can look at a company like Ripple and say, all right, Citadel is willing to invest in shares of this company at a $40 billion valuation. Imagine how valuable the company Ripple is when it hits the open markets. If this goes to an IPO, let me share this data real quick. The most expensive IPO that ever took place in the American markets was a $56 billion IPO, I believe, by an oil company out of Saudi Arabia. Ripple is at a $40 billion valuation before even hitting the public markets. If Ripple decides to IPO during the Trump administration, my prediction is this will be the most expensive IPO in history when it hits the markets on day one. But I'd like to hear if you guys agree. Throw your thoughts in chat. Here's the remainder of the video.
Wow, that is insane. And how much total volume are you guys doing on the payments?
So we've announced publicly we've done over $100 billion of payment, and that has grown. In our infrastructure side, prime brokerage, we did over $3 trillion last year. And then our kind of corporate treasury stuff, we orchestrated $13 trillion of payments.
And you're based in Miami, right?
Corporate treasury, they've done $13 trillion in payments. You're hearing that right from Ripple's CEO. And there was a list that was released yesterday. I'm not sure I kept it in my prep, so I'll have to pull it up in the background as we go through some of this content. But the list and here it is, the top 10 cross-border payment solutions was a list was released by FinTech Magazine yesterday. And what was so interesting about this list is that Ripple was number 5. But I found this even more interesting. Swift was number 2. So it's almost like you're looking at this. It's difficult because I think Michael Jordan's the best NBA player of all time. Some people think it's LeBron James. But for the sake of this analogy, it's almost like Ripple is LeBron James and Swift is Michael Jordan. Swift has been dominating for decades, but LeBron, he's up and coming. This is LeBron right when he went to Miami. And I think we're about to witness a huge change if you're able to follow kind of that bad analogy there. But let's let the Brad video finish out and then we'll continue.
Here in Miami, yes. And here at the Reserve Paddle Tournament, which is absolutely incredible.
Amazing. And do you think more billionaires will move to Miami?
Oh, I think there's no question. I mean, you saw the Larry Page news, but for every Larry Page that makes headlines, there's a bunch of other people that are in the shadows doing interesting stuff.
What's your favorite restaurant in Miami?
The Joyce. It's the best.
And how do you get to the
Shout out to the Joyce guys. If those are in Miami, if you know, now you know.
Joyce? How do you get in?
You got to know people, right? Is that all of life? It's who you know.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
And what drives you most every day, Brad?
My wife.
So I thought that was a pretty cool, fun video that was put out earlier today, just kind of showing Brad Garlinghouse in a different light. But I know our listeners, we got over 3,500 people here. If you're just joining the program, we are breaking down. The White House just called an emergency crypto meeting in order to get the Clarity Act passed inside the United States. You can correlate that with an update that we just got out of Eleanor Terrett, where the Senate Banking Committee has just voted to pass a portion of the Clarity Act out of committee on a 12-11 party line vote with 0 Democrats voting in favor of this crypto bill. If that doesn't speak volumes about why we should be concerned as crypto investors, forget if you're a Republican or you're a Democrat right now. I think everybody can agree we want this asset class to be looked at objectively. We don't want people saying they're anti-crypto just because they're a Democrat, and we don't want people saying they're pro-crypto just because they're a Republican. We want people looking at this asset class and saying objectively, these things are not securities. This is how we should regulate them. This is how they should be applied to the American economy. But let's go through some of the details here just very quickly. Trump is going to be meeting with Ripple, Coinbase, and other crypto leaders this Monday to push the crypto bill. And that is great considering we just had that Senate Banking Committee update where they're going to be moving one part of the Clarity Act forward. We can kind of build on that momentum as we head into the weekend. Donald Trump is set to meet on Monday at the White House with top crypto and banking executives, including Ripple, Coinbase, Kraken, and other major crypto trading groups in a last-ditch effort to make America stuck in the crypto legislation move forward here inside the United States. After months of fighting between traditional banks and crypto companies, the White House is now stepping in directly. Sources say one of the biggest sticking points is stablecoins, which I broke down earlier in the episode. There's a $500 billion check that they're fighting over, essentially. Specifically, whether crypto firms should be allowed to offer rewards or interest on dollar peg tokens. The issue alone has kept the entire bill frozen. And I share that time and time again. Now, again, this correlates with the funding that we've seen. And I think I actually moved the tweet over here. Let me just locate that. Ripple has sponsored a pro-crypto super PAC fair shake to take on anti-crypto politicians at the midterm. So money talks, guys. Massive money. We're talking $193 million has been allocated in cash as it gears up for the 2026 U.S. midterm election. And Ripple is one of the main sponsors, pouring in $25 million into fair shake alone. So when you ask yourself, why is Ripple taking part in this meeting? It's not just because they're very prominent. It's not just because they're the most successful. They've written massive checks to the United States, not the United States government, let's say fair shake, which then donates that money to pro-crypto politicians, which end up being in the United States government. All of these ideas connect. Follow the money. And that's what we're doing within this article. Coinbase also donated $25 million. A16Z donated $24 million. That's nearly $75 million from just 3 crypto giants aimed at one common goal: backing pro-crypto candidates in 2026, removing anti-crypto lawmakers, and forcing regulatory clarity in Washington, D.C. And I want to give a special shout out to John Deaton, guys, because John Deaton is going to be joining our show sometime in February. I forget the date exactly that we locked in, but he's going to be joining our program. He's running for senator in Massachusetts, and he is absolutely a pro-crypto politician. So I'm really excited to connect with John Deaton. We did just pass 450 likes on the episode. If you're enjoying this content, smash that like button, share your thoughts in chat. And the goal for today, can we pass 700 likes? Listen, miracles do happen, and that's what Fairshake is trying to do here. Now, Fairshake reported that it had spent $130 million on media buying to support candidates it considered to be pro-crypto and opposing anti-crypto politicians in the 2024 U.S. federal election. So they had $130 million to spend in 2024. they now have $193 million to spend here for the 2026 midterms. And that is awesome news for crypto investors because it goes to show that we have major money behind the industry. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if we're looking at an industry that not only is regulated by the end of 2026, but if Republicans win the election, that is going to change the way that people view this market. They are going to know for sure if the House majority stays with Republicans that America is going to be pro-crypto for the next 2 years. Clarity will be provided, and that could provide massive momentum for the crypto space. Now, here's an interesting video, guys. This is Jerome Powell. Just yesterday, he was asked about his thoughts on gold and silver. Here's what he had to say.
Monetary policy can be used, through an election cycle to affect the economy in a way that will be politically worthwhile. So I'm not talking about the U.S. context. This is every advanced economy, democracy of any size. It would be hard to restore the credibility of the institution if people lose their faith that we're making decisions for the wide public rather than trying to benefit one group or another.
You're confident it can maintain that independence at this point?
Yes.
So what is he saying there? He's saying that elected officials shouldn't run the Federal Reserve. And I feel like that's a really crazy concept the more that I think about it and apply it to what happens in America. In America, we trust ourselves to vote in the most powerful politicians in the world, right? But we don't trust ourselves to vote in the people who control our monetary supply. That seems like a divergence of logic right there, right? Well, why would we trust a democracy to vote in politicians, but not trust a democracy to vote in the people who control our monetary system, which inevitably controls our politicians anyway? And we're really witnessing that firsthand with the Clarity Act. Now, here's another update I want our listeners to see. This is a White House executive, Patrick Witt, giving us an update on the Clarity Act and the timeline as of this morning. Here it is.
And you tweeted a few days ago, it wasn't if, it's when. Do you have a sense of how soon that's going to happen?
So it got moved a couple days, but on the Senate Ag side, so we have two committees involved, Senate Agriculture and Senate Banking, because of our the unique dual regulatory framework that we have here in the U.S. between the SEC and the CFTC. So the Senate Agriculture Committee handles the CFTC portions of the bill. They're going to mark up their bill on Thursday morning now at 10:30. We're encouraged by some of the progress there. We're hoping that it will be bipartisan at the end of the day, but even if not, we're confident it will get voted out of committee. So we'll have half the legislation moved forward. And then with Senate Banking's postponement of their committee, we have some work to do to convene and play a bit of a mediator role between the folks on either side of the stablecoin rewards and yield debate and try and find a solution there that is ultimately as win-win as we can possibly make it. So that'll take a couple weeks to get right, but I'm confident we'll be able to get there. And then it's a matter of Senate Banking finding time on their calendar to get a markup back up there, get that piece out of committee, and then ultimately the bill will be reconciled and brought to the floor. So still a little bit of time to go, work to be done on the compromise side of things, and then also the reconciliation between the two bills once they're out of committee before it gets brought to the floor. So more to come.
So there you have it, guys. I think that gives a realistic perception of how long we could be in kind of regulatory purgatory here inside the United States. And with Donald Trump calling these executives to the emergency White House meeting that we're talking about, well, this could provide massive momentum behind the Clarity Act. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the entire objective here is to get these two sides working together, get this crypto regulation passed, and then have the banks be happy, have the crypto exchanges be relatively happy, and we can move forward here knowing that we have digital asset regulation prior to the midterms. That could provide massive momentum behind the crypto space. And you want to talk about massive momentum, look at what happened in the silver chart, guys. Silver traded down, it traded sideways for the better half of 15 years. Gold is a different story, and we'll kind of get into that later on. But look at this. Silver created its previous all-time high at about $50 all the way back in 2011, 2012, back until 2026. I mean, for the most part, late 2025, we were trading below all-time high. And I said, I'm waiting for the day where XRP looks like the silver price chart, because again, XRP has experienced something really similar here where we watched ourselves trade down, trade sideways. We get positive articles all the time and people complain about the market manipulation. This is a completely different ballgame that we're involved in. And if assets like gold and silver can add trillions of dollars to their market cap in just a matter of months, I think that speaks volumes about the potential for digital assets. You look at assets even like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a fraction of the size of a gold or silver. And I think the total market cap right here, $1.7 trillion. Gold wiped out $3 trillion just this morning from its market cap. This is the rotation of capital that could work in favor. We could be looking at a market very soon where Bitcoin is 4 trillion, Ethereum is 1.5 trillion, XRP is 1 trillion in market cap, just based on the debasement of the US dollar. The fact that gold and silver can outperform in this manner speaks volumes about the potential for some of our favorite altcoins. And if an asset like XRP reaches $1 trillion in market cap, it's not like that's unfound territory. We're looking at Ethereum right now sitting at almost 400 billion. We're looking at Bitcoin sitting well over $1.5 trillion in total market cap, even in the midst of this bearish pullback that we're experiencing right now. But guys, we are 30 minutes into the program. We did just pass 544 likes on the episode. If you're having fun, you enjoy this content, smash that like button, submit your thoughts in chat, because so Lovestock, you're too funny. You opened a Leering Center for real. LOL. Shout out to Lovestock, guys. But if you're having fun, you're enjoying this content, smash that like button. Be sure to subscribe. We do a live in the morning. We do a 5:30 p.m. update. And of course, the breaking news that we're covering today, Donald Trump called in executives to get the Clarity Act approved inside the United States. And I wanted to play this video one more time. This is the possibility of BlackRock filing an XRP ETF. Here it is.
From institutions. Like, how does BlackRock wake up one day and say it's time for a spot XRP ETF or a spot HBAR ETF? Like, what do we need to do to get there?
I actually think it's really close. It wouldn't surprise me if BlackRock files for a XRP, potentially Solana ETF sometime the end of 2026 or 2027. I mean, you've already got Fidelity, you've already got Franklin Templeton in the race there. So it's not going to be a whole lot longer before, BlackRock also looks at this. I mean, Invesco just filed for a Solana ETF. Give it time. XRP will be there as well. And these are the largest ETF providers out there. So I think it has to do with a few functions. They want to see demand. They want to see high market cap. And it'll
from institutions. Like, how does BlackRock wake up one day and say it's time for a spot XRP ETF or a spot HBAR ETF?
Well, there you have it, guys. I think that was a great response as to what we could witness here when it comes to altcoin adoption from the biggest companies in the world. And that's why I think this Senate Banking Committee moving the bill forward this morning, it's a great sign for the industry that at the end of the day, both of these parties, meaning crypto exchanges and banks, will benefit from crypto regulation, because from that point forward, they're going to be able to profit off the industry. Now, there were also some disagreements among Republicans about the bill's stablecoin provisions, according to two other people familiar with the matter. Senators leading the effort were concerned that it would not get enough votes to advance. Crypto companies are saying providing rewards such as interest is crucial for recruiting new customers, and that barring them from doing so would be anti-competitive, meaning you're handing all of this power over to the banking industry when we're the ones who built this industry, meaning crypto exchanges, from scratch. That's kind of the argument out of Coinbase. Banks say the increased competition could result in insured lenders experiencing an exodus of deposits. So big banks are concerned people are going to stop storing their money with banks and put them into more profitable things like stablecoins. The primary source of funding for most banks is these deposits, and potentially this could threaten financial stability. A report that Standard Chartered released on Tuesday estimated that stablecoins could pull about $500 billion in deposits out of U.S. banks by the end of 2028. The provision at issue stems from a law that was passed last year, which created a federal regulatory framework for stablecoins, potentially paving the way for greater stablecoin adoption. And they're talking about stablecoin yield in that reference. They're talking about the Genius Act. That bill prohibited stablecoin issuers from paying interest on cryptocurrencies, but banks say it left an open loophole that would allow for third parties such as crypto exchanges to pay a yield on tokens, creating new opportunity for depositors. So again, the banking industry feels threatened by the adoption and regulation of digital assets, so much so that they're willing to prevent themselves from having any guidance on the issue if they're unable to withhold their monopoly on stablecoin yield. That just goes to speak volumes, guys. We need a more objective market. Why are banks controlling the future of the crypto industry when crypto was created as an exodus for the banks in the first place? I think both sides can really agree on that single issue there. And when people try to tell me that these banks, they know what they're talking about.
Well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing. You fake news.
That's what we got to say here on Good Evening Crypto, guys. But we do have 4,200 live listeners here. If you're enjoying this content, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. like we've been covering in depth, a lot is happening in the crypto space at large. And I wanted to provide a little data when it comes to the XRP millionaires. XRP millionaire wallets are on the rise for the first time since September, adding 42 wallets with 1 million tokens. This is an encouraging long-term signal per sentiment. And XRP's millionaire numbers are growing for the first time since September. What does that mean? Well, it basically means that smart money, the big money, is done dumping on the open market. They are ready for this asset class to start moving in the other direction. And I think thousands of people in our live chat feel the exact same way. But with that being said, we love you guys. We appreciate you all. We're going to be back later on this afternoon with a 5:30 p.m. update. But for the time being, go out, touch some grass, enjoy the sunlight. And I'll be celebrating my grandma's birthday later on tonight. So I'm very excited about that. But with that being said, we'll see you all in the next one.
You're going to be so proud of your president, and I don't care about that. But you are going to be so proud of your country because we're going to turn it around and we're going to start winning again. We're going to win so much. We're going to win at every level. We're going to win economically. We're going to win with the economy. We're going to win with military. We're going to win with healthcare and for our veterans. We're going to win with every single facet. We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. See, the bottom line is...
Well, guys, I missed a couple of live donations, so I want to address these very quickly. Child of King 777 said, happy birthday to Grandma. Shout out to Grandma, guys. We're going to be going out and celebrating her later on today. I don't want to say her birthday. I would, but I'm not sure she would appreciate that. But I'll be sure to show her a video of our live chat wishing her happy birthday. I know she's going to be excited. Dennis with the $2. Thank you very much. He said, banks agreed on Swift shared ledger. Clarity passes. I would love for this to play out in favor of the crypto industry, Dennis. If Clarity is able to be approved, that will be the catalyst that leaves the bears in the dust. And that will be the catalyst that leaves retail investors very confused about the future of this market and where we could be headed in 2026. Forget about the next 3, 4, 5 years. I'm talking about right here, right now. This would provide major momentum for the space. And the question that we asked our live chat today, we got 1,100 votes on this. Does the Clarity Act, aka the crypto bill, get passed in 2026? 79% said yes. 21% said no. With that being said, I'm out of here, guys. See you all next. So if you're looking to implement the same strategies that we do here on Good Evening Crypto, I would encourage all of our listeners to click on the Merlin link below and sign up for ITrust Capital as well. Now, why are our listeners going to do this? By leveraging the Merlin application, you can create a profit plan for yourself so you know exactly where you're going to be exiting this market. But leveraging ITrust through a Roth IRA product, you can take advantage of tax-free crypto gains during this crypto bull market. So I would encourage everybody, click on the link down below, sign up for ITrust today, and take advantage of our $100 free sign-up bonus.
But the challenge, as you know well, is the U.S. has had this very hostile. The Biden administration has been waging a war on